Hey guys, WeQuilt Studio here, and I thought I would show you how I make a flower. In this case, it's a Molar flower that's real popular with long arm quilters, and you can do a quilt and a hoop with it as well. You can see here, this bunch here is kind of what I ended up with for a quilt and a hoop. Now, when I do quilt and the hoop, I don't attach my next hooping end to end because I think that looks kind of ugly with a double knot, a double tie off in the same spot. So I just basically have one hooping that starts and stops, so a tie on and a tie off in slightly different places that are inconspicuous. And then I nest the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and I create like a template with a ghost on it as well, so that I could line up the next one. It's a whole process, and I started to make a video on my process, and it was 3 hours long. And I decided that I need to break this up and just kind of start from the beginning. So I'm not sure how long this series will be, and I'm going to try real hard to make it short and sweet. Uh, I also have a long arm quilting machine. I have a Gamel, and I create stencils with kind of the same concept, the same process, except when I create stencils for the long arm, I do make them connect end to end, so to speak. Uh, there's kind of a confusion with the terminology, and some people will use the term edge to edge, and some people will use the term end to end. Well, you can make an edge to edge project or quilt like this with quilt and the hoop. It's going from one edge of the quilt top to the other, but they're not connected end to end. So it's still an edge to edge, but it's not end to end, edge to edge. And then you can create an edge to edge that is end to end, and that's what my long arm stencils are, because they connect end to end. They have a little connection, that connects them. Because with the long arm, of course, you don't need to stop after you quilt this one and then rehoop. It's just one long continuous flow. And I'll show you that file as well, because I did create a stencil for this flower. I'm not sure how many people would be interested in that aspect, but I'll show it to you. So here is the stencil for the long arm quilting machine. It's not actually a stencil yet, but this is kind of the beginning step to making a stencil. And the guideline I have here is just kind of showing me where I would cut off this top part, because the top part in red, well, this part is the part that would stay. That's what I call the ghost, and that's what I use to line up my next long arm design. And this is actually on my stencil in red Sharpie, magic marker or whatever. And then this part is the part that has the little holes in it. This is the design. Now, for my stencil, I only get like 11 to 12 inches of width, from here to here. So for the stencil, I only have this row and my ghost. I don't have this row down here, but I added this row in Embird so that I could see how, 3 rows would nest. I just did like auto repeat and then snap to previous, and so on. It's a whole process, like I said. Um, but the final stencil, okay, is in Cricut Design Space, and I'll show you that in a minute. But just so you know, the process of this is pretty tedious. I start here in Embird, and then I have to export it as an SVG, open it up in Inkscape, and then in Inkscape, fix it, get the size right, and so on. And then I have to export it separately. I have to export the ghost as a PNG, so a raster file for Cricut Design Space. And then I have to export the design, the one that's going to be perforated. I have to export that separately as a PNG. So that's why I have to take it into Inkscape, because Inkscape lets you export as a PNG. That's why I use Inkscape. And then from Inkscape, I open those PNGs separately in Cricut Design Space. And then I mess with it. I add rectangles and so on. So this is Cricut Design Space. This is my final stencil. This is what it looks like. This is the ghost that's going to print in red Sharpie. And this is the perforated design. And I had to add these perforations while I was in Inkscape. That's another reason why I take it into Inkscape, is to add the perforations as a stroke. So it is quite a process. And like I said, I don't know if anybody would be interested in that or not. I guess you guys could let me know if you are. Not everybody has an embroidery machine and a long arm machine. I've just had them, I had my embroidery machine for years, and then I just had to have a long arm, right? So, but anyways, yeah, let me know. If I was just making a template for my quilt in the hoop, I could stay in Embird Studio to make that. And in this series, I'll show you, towards the end, my process. My problem is I try to summarize it all, and it's just impossible because you're talking about it and people don't really follow because they have to see it, So that's why I'm going to just have to go slow and step by step and make it into a series. At any rate, this is the edge to edge, that is end to end. So you could see I added echoes. If I kind of zoom in here, I'll just do it on the ghost because I didn't split it, here yet. But, I started with the flower, and you can see I took off one of the petals as well because I realized that to go end to end, you always have to start as if, there's something here, but you're not really stitching it. This is your beginning. At any rate, this will stitch continuously after it stitches this. Okay. And then it comes up and stitches the flower. I could do a sew sim, and then it comes and does the first echo and echoes all the way around. And then second echo, and then the third echo is what connects to the next design, and it starts over. And this one's basically the same design, it's just flipped vertically. You can see this is going to the left, here it's going to the right. And so same thing, echo, 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 and then attaches, and then we start over again with this one. And so that's basically how it stitches. So like I said, I could do a sew sim. To do a sew sim, you have to generate stitches. So let me just, it might take a long time to generate all of these. I'll just generate the ghost. Well, it might not. I mean, this isn't mesh, it's just stitches. And then I'll do a sew sim and you'll see what I mean. Oh, I'm on, hold on, I'm on X-ray because a lot of times when you're in X-ray, I don't know how well you could see the screen, but you can really see your tie-ons. And you can really see when things double over themselves when you're in X-ray. But I'll go into 3D so you could see this better. Okay, and I'll hit run. Okay, and there you go, you start over again. And echoes are a big thing with any type of quilting in the hoop or long arm quilting because echoes allow you to get from one place to another and they really look beautiful. They add more interest to your quilt. So it's a win-win. So there you go. So that's the edge to edge that is actually an end to end. And you will see a lot of creators out there, and they'll make an end to end for quilt in the hoop, and you will see an ugly tie where they want to connect the next hooping. So for instance, if this was one hooping here, they may make the tie for the next hooping like here. Or I've seen some of them, they make it like right here and it's so obvious. It looks really bad. That's why I don't do it for quilt in the hoop. It looks just as beautiful if you just nest them and put your ties in two different spots. So let's go back then to the quilt in the hoop file. Now I may, let's see, I'll do open recent, quilt in the hoop. I'll just say no because I'm pretty sure I saved it. Okay, so if I come and look again at my quilt in the hoop, we'll just do Control A to select them all and then Control 1 to bring them into view. Okay, so again, this is one hooping and this is another. And you can see I made a totally different design for this quilt in the hoop. I only have one echo. I have like a full flower. Then I have only 3 petals. You know, I mean, I just mix it up so much with everything I create because once you start creating, your mind just goes in down a different tunnel. And you try to think of how you can nest them, and you'll see how this is almost like a zigzag. Okay, when you think of nesting, you either want to think of a zigzag or a diamond shape or a circle that can easily nest into the next row. You'll see a lot of people will just make like a diamond shaped looking design, and then they'll have like a loop to connect the next design. Well, that's your zigzag, you know. So you kind of want to keep that all in mind. And when you're seeing if they nest well, how do you do that? Well, you just take one design, the design you created, and you do an auto repeat. So that's something we'll do in the future. Like you'll just select what you created here, and you'll do build auto repeat. You'll start with a line first to make a line, and you'll just, you know, count of 3 is fine, gap 0, and hit preview. Okay, so there they are, but you know, there's no gap, so then you change the gap to say 12 mils would be a 1/2 inch, so just say 10, enter, preview. Okay, and then you would hit the check mark, and then you would take that line and group it. On group 2 is taken, so you choose group 3, and you auto repeat that into an area. So you'd do build, auto repeat. And I know I'm over the other ones, but this time you would do area. Your columns, this is your columns, would only be 1 column. This is considered 1 column because it's grouped, and then 3 rows, and we'll do the same gap just for the heck of it. And you can change that up, preview, and you could see you want to offset this second row. So you would hit the check mark. I should hide all these other ones. Let's do Control A, deselect these, and show hide selected. And you would take the second one and you figure, well, how wide is one design? So if one design is, you'd have to ungroup to see how group, ungroup 3, click on one design, you look down here, it's about 200. Well, it's 200.2, so half of that is 100.1. So you'd move this 100.1 to the left or to the right. So you'd click on the second row. Well, those are grouped. Click on the second row, or ungrouped, and you would go to transformation window. You'd move, what did I say, 100.1. I'm in mils, 100.1. We'll just move it to the right. Well, maybe I'll move it to the left, so I don't have to move the screen. So negative, check or enter. And then there's no preview on this. You just have to hit apply. And you have to wait. Okay, so there it moved. And then you'll hit the check mark, and you click outside and you say, okay, it looks okay, but the spacing isn't right. Well, you can just, let me group these. Group 2 is taken, group 3. You can just take this one, hold control, the second one, it's on rotate, so click it again. Okay, hold control, and you could just move it up to where you think it should be, and then you could move the second row. This is just for you to see if they nest. And then, oops, it didn't move. Okay. See, there's so many objects on my screen or in this file. And then you say, well, they're not exactly the same. Oops, that moved down. Oh, there it moved up. So then what you do is you get it kind of close, and then you click one, hold shift, select the other. Oh, I moved it up too far. I mean, you have to have some sort of a gap there. I didn't wait long enough for it to, okay. So then hold shift, so you select them all, and once they're all selected, you'll go into transformation window, you'll go into distribute, and you'll want this, this one down here, the bottom of previous row and the top of the next row are going to all be consistent. And that'll move one of the rows subtly. It'll probably move the center row or something so that all three rows have the same gap. They almost look the same now, so you might not see it once I hit apply, but look real carefully when I hit apply. And you have to wait, you know, because like I said, I have so many files open. I think I gave it enough time to move, and like I said, it probably didn't even move because I did it so well, I guess. Then you hit the check mark here. And so then that's how you can tell if your design nested correctly. And since these were like circles, they nested really nice. So this could be a hooping, this could be a hooping. So you could see with this, I don't even have another one attached to it. I just made a flower and there you go. Now, if it didn't nest correctly, you would concentrate on this center flower here and you'd edit it to where, you know, maybe bring a leaf out or this or that or whatever so that it nests, and then you delete everything else except this center flower. Now, to of course, to edit the center flower, you have to ungroup this, of course. You know, ungroup 3, and then there you go. And that even, oh, that's not that one. Okay, there's the center one. Even that's grouped. So you would ungroup 2, and so it's got the echo and the flower. Now this particular flower, let's see. Okay, this particular flower, you can see, here it is here. This is the one we're going to create. Let's just make it blue. Okay, there's no scissor between the flower and the echo, which is kind of nice. Let's do Control-1 to bring it into view. Whoops. Okay. And you say, well, how did you do that? Well, notice here, I edited this echo to start down here where the flower petal ended. That's how I got that. So we're going to go over all that and how I created those. So that's kind of like a brief summary on how you can tell if it nests or not. I should probably do a sew sim on this flower just so you could see what we're striving towards. So I have them both selected here. Let me generate them so that we could do a sew sim. And I'll click sew sim. Let's pause it and start over. Okay, so I'm going to just hit 5 just for the beginning. So you can see it starts here and it's going to make the swirl. Speed it up a little, 20. And I made it into a ribbon swirl. And then it makes the petals. Go to 50. And this is the point here that I had to edit so that the echo just flows seamlessly, and then it ties off here. So it ties on here and ties off here. They're two different spots. If I would have made it tie off here as well, there'd be way too much heaviness in through here. It wouldn't look good. If I go into X-ray, see, you can see the ties. And that's kind of what you're going to see on your quilt. And you don't have to worry a lot about that, because long arm quilters, when they do custom quilting for someone, they have tie-ons and tie-offs all over the quilt, you know. At first I was kind of nervous about all of that, and then watching all the YouTube videos and watching the pros, I mean, some of them don't even knot and bury. They just do a tie off and cut it. And so I started doing that too on my long arm. Even though sometimes I do a tie off and I still knot and bury on the long arm. And even with Quilt in the Hoop, I do that. I'll knot it, I'll do the tie off, but I'll still knot and bury. And it's actually therapeutic, with each hooping. So click stop.